Good afternoon. It's really a pleasure to be here, especially, I can tell you, after 2 years of pandemic and 2.5 years of lockdown, to be able to be in front of a large audience and interact with real people, 3D people, and not 2D people, I can tell you, is a great, great pleasure. So, Jean-François, Sam, thank you very much for the invitation for this session. So my idea today is basically take you in the next 20 minutes through what are the biggest challenges we are facing today as CEOs, in my point of view, and relate a little bit to the food industry. My purpose really is that we focus most of our time in the Q&A, which I think is the most rich part of it, and also we can deviate from what I'm presenting and really address what interests you. But I will use some slides to share some of my thoughts and how do I see, as Jean-François said, 3.5 years in the job, but really that feels that 7 or perhaps even more than 7 years. So let me start with this quote, which is, "The future is not what we used to be." What it used to be. And perhaps you say, well, okay, yes, but this is very, very, very normal, and that is a normal quote. But I think I emphasize perhaps a little bit more than this. Gosh, not even the present is what we used to be. And I think what we're living today is incredibly new and disrupting. I had the chance to hear Arturo Briz a couple of weeks ago in a learning conference that we have in Tetra Pak, and I know he was here presenting one of these days, and he basically said that we are entering the era of ignorance. We're moving from the era of uncertainty to the era of ignorance. And that is exactly what is happening. And when I talk to several CEOs, who could imagine that in today's world, CEOs of largest car manufacturing were thinking about buying a mine, because what they want to assure is the metals in order to be able to have the electric batteries for their future cars. That's how the business is going today. So basically, the reality is pushing us to really think beyond convention and beyond normal things. And you all know what we're living. I think for me, the biggest issue we're all having is a huge impact in the value chain, especially the logistics. I think logistics today is totally broken, in my opinion. It needs to be stabilized. We have ocean freight that has moved from 76% reliability 2 years ago to 35%. Just imagine that 2/3 of your products don't arrive on time and they arrive late, and most of them of your goods are in the middle of the ocean or outside ports. That's the reality we're all living today. So let me start, and I think Jean-François made it very strong point. How do CEOs, how do we navigate this new world that is the era of ignorance? I think we need to more and more trust our purpose. Our purpose is today as a company the only thing that is solid that will drive us through this world of uncertainty, that will help us navigate, because it will tell us what is important, what is relevant, and what is not. What do we want to be in the future and what we don't want to be in the future. Purpose is about linking the heart and the brain of the organization, of the customers, of the key stakeholders. Purpose is fundamental for the future. Again, it's the only stable thing we will have as we go on in the next decades. And of course, today, purpose without sustainability as part of the purpose is not valid. Sustainability has to be part of who you want to be and how you move your employees. And I can tell you a couple of examples. I think purpose, if we hadn't pushed that a lot in Tetra Pak, and Jean-François mentioned it, we would not have been able to navigate 2 years of pandemic and be able to communicate to our employees that we were protecting you so that you could protect our customers, so that you could protect the food supply, which a pandemic is one of the most important things. Sustainability becomes part of that journey, as important as those principles that I just mentioned. So what is the new realities that we're facing as CEOs? And I will take you through these 5 points. As I said at the beginning, promise you that it's not 50 slides, a couple of slides. I don't believe on slides. I think we, during the virtual world and during this virtuality that we lived there in 2 years, we overused slides, and now it's moment to start killing some of them and getting rid of them. But let me take you these 5 new realities that I think today CEOs face as we go on. And the first one is, as I mentioned, sustainability. Sustainability cannot be part of the agenda, has to be the agenda. And it doesn't matter which industry you're in, what type of business you are, what are your customers, or your geographies where you operate. Sustainability is the agenda that needs to be part of your purpose and part of what you do every day. And why is that? And here perhaps I use words that are strong. I believe that sustainability has become a license to operate. Companies in the future will not be able to operate if they don't have a strong sustainability agenda supported by facts. And you see what is happening today in the world. There is legislation coming, the European Green Deal for those that are in Europe. But this is not just Europe. You have Chile, you have Kenya, you have India, you have China. This is all over the place. Different speeds, different focus, but the legislation is coming. And legislation is so fundamental to push us and drive this, and it will come. On top of all the social media, the activists, if we want to put it, the passionate about, but I think more important, it is about the young generation. Companies will not be able to be sustainable in the future if they don't attract the young generation, if the young generation don't see that you have incorporated sustainability in part of what you do every day. I wanted to gather some figures, and I took a survey from McKinsey and Ernst & Young around what does C-suite levels, what do CEOs want around sustainability. And I think 2 important things. First, they all believe that sustainability will deliver value. They all believe that sustainability will be a competitive edge in the future. And I think that is very important in the shift we're seeing in the companies. No? And this, I want to mention, if you are public, which perhaps you have more pressure around this, or private, which we are a privately owned company, we could manage this world in a more easier way, but we don't, because we strongly believe in the purpose we have as a company. Let me take you to the second one, which is the and mindset. Sustainability used to be either or I invest in sustainability, or I focus on sustainability, or I focus on growth, or I focus on innovation, or I focus on investing here, but I cannot do everything. That dialogue is no longer valid. Sustainability is an and we need to be sure that we change that mindset and we understand the importance of sustainability. And here I'm going to steal something that I heard in 2019. I'm part of the CEO roundtable that he leads very energetically. And the first time I heard it, he talked about this, about companies, the importance of companies doing well and doing good, and the balance between doing well and doing good. And let's be very pragmatic on this. Doing well is about making money, as simple as that. You have to understand that companies need to make money. That's what we are here for. I would not last in this job if I don't make money. I cannot sit down in front of the board and tell them, look, we're driving sustainability strong and all this. Guy, but today the cash flow that I'm delivering is half of what I delivered last year but sustainability is good. I can tell you, I will not last long here. But also the equation doesn't work. If you don't see this company or any company in the future operating, delivering value, if they don't incorporate sustainability as part of the daily life. And what I mean is part of the purpose of the company. And the key trick that we all are facing is what is in between the 2 circles, that sweet spot that we need to work on, which is one of the big challenges we have as CEO. How do we really find that sweet spot between doing well and doing good. Also because times vary between short-term doing money and long-term doing good. And that is one of the biggest challenges we are facing as in today's world. If I relate this to the food industry, this even becomes a little bit more complex sometimes, because the way we see it is, and I wanted to use this example, the way we see it is that you cannot just think of sustainability without the whole different aspects of it. And the most important one is the food system. At the end, we will need packages. So the world will not be able to exist without packaging, no? Unless you live in a farm and you plant and you have your animals there, and then that's how you live. But if not, you need a package. You need a package to contain your liquids, to contain your food. So packaging is not something that will become obsolete. Packaging companies will not be the Kodaks of the world that will become obsolete. You need a package. The key thing is, how do you renew the package so that from one side you still secure food safety? Because at the end, that's the role of the package. 30% of the global food goes to waste. That first is a big issue because inequality of food supplied in the world, but also vis-a-vis sustainability, because that represents one of the biggest areas of greenhouse gas emissions in the world, the food waste. So food safety, it's important. Second is about nature. So we need to consider that everything we do in order to drive the sustainability agenda, we need to be sure that we use renewable resources, that we work on land restoration, that we have responsible sourcing. That, of course, is a balance, again, between doing well and doing good. Climate, greenhouse gas emissions, investment in renewable energy or not. Again, you need to accelerate that, but also has to be a balance. And last but not least is circularity, which again, yes, today you hear a lot about recycled content and the importance of having in each one of these packages some recycled content. That, when you have when you are packaging food, becomes a big issue because of food safety. So I wanted to use this example to basically illustrate that it's not that simple, the agenda, when you want to balance doing good and doing well. There is a lot of challenges that we as CEOs need to decide. Where do we invest in this circle? How fast do we invest? Where do we put the bets today, and where do we put them tomorrow? So with this, I go to the third one, which is more today than in the past. The role of CEOs is taking the big bets for the future. Before, we could plan 3 years ahead, even 5 years with some guesses. I think anything that goes beyond 3 years is a pure guess. Of course, today, anything that goes beyond 6 months is a pure guess, no? But that's another thing. So we need more and more to really take the big bets. So CEOs need to bet today what is going to be the future of companies in 10, 15 years from now. In a moment where perhaps I will not be here running the company. But that's the decisions today, CEOs, we need to take. If we don't bet today for the future and make the investments today, we will not really be ready to balance this doing good and doing well. And for us, what is important, and I think for all companies, is you need to have key indicators that will help you doing these big bets about consumer trends. We are seeing huge consumer trends around healthier products, around consumers that want something that is what we call hyper-customization, so something that is just for me. Digitalization is becoming so important, traceability. All of you want to know if the cow that produced your milk is a cow that was treated well and it's treated in a farm that has sustainable conditions, or the orange juice, the orange, etc. Digitalization will become even more important as we go on. Technologies, Technologies, I don't believe that with the actual technology we have today, we will do a quantum leap in sustainability. In order to really do a quantum leap in sustainability, we will need to invent the future. And in order to invent the future today and design the future today, we need to start today making those big bets. because the quantum leap on sustainability, the big change today doesn't exist in the industry. We can all do small changes, marginal improvements, but the big transformation today, it does not exist. We need to create it. And last but not least, it's about looking beyond a little bit our traditional business, and I wanted to give an example of us in Tetra Pak. We are looking a lot about protein coming from insects, protein coming from bacteria, protein coming from fungi. All that is environmentally much better and has the same properties, no? Of course, the technology is still under development, the cost is still high, but you really need to think beyond that. Let me go to the fourth. We all talk about local versus global, and we all have seen, and in my opinion, and there perhaps here we'll enter a debate, I think we're seeing the end of the era of globalization the way it has been up till now. I think that is over. I think we enjoyed the wealth that it created, but it's over. The future is about, and I'm not talking just about trades and geopolitical situation, I'm really talking about consumers, goods, etc. It will be more about regions, multilateral agreements. It will be more regionalized. It will be more customized. But that's not only the situation that will happen. It will also be different speeds, because what we will face as organization, and again, if I refer to the sustainability agenda, is different speed on how the world will evolve, the different countries will evolve, and how things will move on. So the future is not just about how much do I balance global versus local, but also how do I create an organization that is ready to address a multi-speed world. And remember that the success of large corporations was based on huge standardization, huge centralization, and deployment of everything massively across the world. I remember the first time I went to India, that I had a discussion with one economist that told me the big failure that companies have when they come to India is that they want to replicate the European model in India, and they will fail, because India is India, and you need to understand what drives the business and what drives the consumer. I think that is going to become even more and more a challenge. And companies, especially multinational companies, will need to adapt to that. No? And this is just an example of what touching sustainability around EPR. You know, the different color shows the different evolution of EPR in the world. So yes, everybody's looking about sustainability, recycling, involving the industry, but the level this is going varies a lot in the world, a lot. So, and the speed this is moving also moves a lot, and everybody's tailor making this according to what their specific needs in each country are. Again, this represents a big challenge. And I think with this I want to finish, which is, I don't think the world will get easier. I think the last 30 years has proven that I thought that when 2020 was over, I said, God, now it's 21. Thank God 21 has been more difficult than 2020. When 21 finished, I said, good, now we're in 22. And I can tell you, I really hope that 23 will be better than 22. I don't see how 23 can be worse than 22, but you know, we've been surprised every year. But what is our role? We need to get better. We need to unlearn and learn. It is very important as human beings, we unlearn, and we are conscious that what took us here, I can assure you, most probably will not take us into the future. And we need to know what do we need to unlearn in order to be able to learn what is fundamental so that we address the future that is in front of us. And I wanted, at one moment when I wanted to discuss, and of course with the support of communication in the company, I tried to see how would you define leadership of the future. And I put the ABCD of leadership. You know? And I think the first one is about authenticity. And what do I mean about authenticity? It's about being transparent. It's about qualitative and quantitative transparency. What do I mean by that? Quantitative is everything you post, you show, has to be fact-based, has to be, even in sustainability, science-based, and you need to be able to be committed to do that, not greenwashing or trying to sell something that is not there. And then qualitative, I strongly believe that CEOs that in the past, an organization in the past, that didn't allow their people to be vulnerable, that were so concerned about failures, were so concerned about exposing themselves and exposing us, especially starting at the CEO, will fail. I think a CEO and a leader that is vulnerable is stronger than a CEO that is distant and protects themselves from the organization. And if we want to be true to the purpose and true to sustainability and anything else that is in our purpose, authenticity is very important. Balance. And balance, I talked briefly about that. No? It's about short-term, long-term, and especially the importance of long-term beyond the horizon that boards today are used to approve projects, beyond the horizons that CEOs are able to commit today because they're not sure and the uncertainty becomes bigger as they go on. But those are the big bets that we need to take. It's about doing good and doing well and the importance of that balance. Collaboration. And collaboration is not just internally, teamwork, etc., but it's also understanding that the future is not about who owns the patents and who owns the technology, but how fast you can deploy your products into the markets with that technology there. And that will mean that you will have to share the patents, you will have to share the profits, and you will have to share and collaborate more. And not just collaborate with the traditional companies you collaborate. Use academia, use startups, tech companies, etc. Widen your horizon as much as you can. And last one, which is a passion, and you may understand being Mexican, almost 4 years in 2018, when the chairman approached me and told me, Adolfo, I was at that time sitting down in America, in Dallas, living in Dallas, responsible for that region. And they approached me and they said, Dennis, the actual CEO, is retiring, and we're going to start an internal selection process. Do you want to be part of it? And of course, I went back, asked my wife, the normal thing that you do. And then she, of course, said, yes. Let's do, because I don't see you not participating in that, even though it meant we will have to move to Lausanne and move from Dallas, which we were very happy. And I can tell you, being Mexican, I had a lot of doubts, because at that time, I knew, even though it was not official, but it was obvious, I was competing with very strong Europeans for the role. And I even though I had, I think, a very successful career in Tetra Pak, I had that in my back of my mind. Is the board really, and we're a privately owned company where the family has a very important, and I have never met the owners. I met them 1 or twice there. And I had that in back of my head. Is being Mexican and being who I am, which some of you know me a little bit more. I'm very informal. I don't understand processes. I don't understand the corporate world. I struggle to understand that. I said, God, they're not going to give me that role. They're going to send the Mexican back. And and I was very surprised that I got it. And I think when I talk about diversity, and I try to push that in the company, is first, diversity is not just gender. Gender is extremely important, but is religion, is beliefs, is age, is seniority, is nationalities, is a lot of things, is introvertive, extrovertive, is analytical, is spontaneous, is heart, is brain. And companies become stronger when you really create the mechanism inside the company to make that grow. But also they become extremely weak if you just do that to fill a number. And you don't allow the diversity to flourish, to grow, to understand the difference between when I talk to an introvertive versus when I talk to an extrovertive. Perhaps I feel more comfortable with one versus the other one. And I perhaps immediately, say what you're saying is not true. So it requires a huge discipline, more than just the right coaching, the right channels, the right opportunities, the right selection process. My message to you in this point is diversity will be even more important in the future because what I said, companies will become less global, more local. We need to understand the world as it is, and the world will be more different in the future than what it is today. But in order for companies to be able to tap in that richness, we need to have a huge change of culture, which honestly, we're not there. We are pushing to get there. We all want to get there, but it's stronger, the barriers that some of us and a lot of us face when we want to grow in this world. But it will become so important in the future. So with this, I finish, and I finish with a very normal quote, but I wanted to use this quote because I wanted to give a message. When I say the future starts today, not tomorrow, the main message is, the main difference is, today you need to take the big decisions, the big bets for the future. Decisions that companies may, or management, or actual management of companies may perhaps not be able to live them and turn them into returns for the company. But all the bets that are going to secure the strong purpose, and especially, I'm fully convinced, if today we don't start focusing and understanding the importance of incorporating sustainability in our purpose, we will not succeed. So with this, thank you very much, and I move to Q&A.
Okay.